Imagine a weapon so wild it can vaporize cities, and 9 countries have it in their arsenals. How did this insane power spread? From a secret desert lab to missiles buried in mountains, the nuclear story is a roller coaster of genius, betrayal, and brinkmanship. In this video, we're diving deep into how every country got the bomb, and what it means for the world today. Get ready, because this starts with a bang you'll never forget. It all began with a single, groundbreaking discovery. In 1938, German scientists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann split the atom for the first time, unleashing the power of nuclear fission. But here's the twist. They didn't even realize what they'd done. It took physicist Lise Meitner to explain the mind-blowing potential of their experiment. Suddenly, the world realized the atom wasn't just a tiny particle, it was a massive source. But how did this discovery reach the US? It's 1939 and World War II is heating up. Albert Einstein writes Franklin Roosevelt, Germany might be chasing an atomic bomb. Panic sets in. The US launches the Manhattan Project. $2 billion, 130,000 workers, and top minds like Robert Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, and General Leslie Groves running the show. They build 3 bombs, a uranium one, a plutonium one, and a test gadget. July 16, 1945, the Trinity test in New Mexico, 20 kilotons of TNT equivalent, lights up the sky. Oppenheimer's stunned, quoting, "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." August 6th, little boy, 15 kilotons, flattens Hiroshima, 80,000 dead instantly, 60,000 more from radiation. August 9th, fat man, 21 kilotons, hits Nagasaki, 40,000 gone. Japan surrenders, and the US becomes the first nuclear titan. They think it's their secret. But spies are already watching. The United States drops the bomb in 1945, and Stalin's furious. He feels betrayed by his wartime pals. He'd already sniffed out the Manhattan Project thanks to spies like Klaus Fuchs, a German physicist who handed over blueprints, and Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, who fed intel from Los Alamos. Stalin taps physicist Igor Kurchatov to lead the charge. They build a secret city, Artemis 16, and pour resources into copying the United States plutonium bomb. August 1949. RDS-1, nicknamed First Lightning, explodes in Semipalatinsk, Kazakhstan, 25 kilotons. United States scrambles. Truman orders a hydrogen bomb. The Soviets one-up them with Tsar Bomba in 1961, 50 megatons, so big it broke windows 500 miles away. Peak arsenal? 40,000 warheads. The Cold War is now a nuclear standoff, and it's terrifying. After World War II, Britain was no longer the global superpower it once was. The war had drained its economy, and the United States had taken the lead on global affairs. But then Hiroshima and Nagasaki happened. The atomic bomb changed warfare forever. And Britain? It was left out in the cold. The Americans, once Britain's wartime allies, suddenly turned secretive. The United States passed the McMahon Act in 1946, blocking Britain from accessing nuclear technology they had helped develop during the Manhattan Project. Britain felt betrayed. If they wanted to stay a major power, they needed the bomb. And they needed it fast. But how did Britain get nuclear technology in the first place? The answer lies in a mix of early scientific contributions, wartime collaboration, and independent development. British scientists were pioneers in nuclear research, with figures like Ernest Rutherford laying the groundwork for atomic theory. During World War II, the Tube Alloys Project of United Kingdom worked on nuclear technology, later merging with the Manhattan Project in the United States. British scientists played a key role in developing the first atomic bomb. However, in 1946, the McMahon Act cut Britain off from United States nuclear. This meant the United Kingdom had to develop its nuclear weapons independently. In 1947, Britain's top minds at Harwell and Aldermaston began working on their own atomic bomb. And after years of relentless work, the moment of truth came in 1952 with Operation Hurricane. Boom! On October 3, 1952, Britain became the world's third nuclear power. The bomb was tested on a remote island off Australia, proving to the world that the UK was back in the game. France, home to world-class cuisine, fashion, and nuclear weapons? How did this country join the elite club of nuclear powers? Well, it's a story of ambition, science, and a little Cold War tension. Let's dive in. After World War II, France was rebuilding. But one thing was clear: to remain a global power, it needed nuclear capabilities. The United States and the Soviet Union already had the bomb, and Britain wasn't far behind. France didn't want to be left behind. France had some of the best minds in nuclear physics. Scientists like Frédéric Joliot-Curie had already worked on nuclear research before the war. Although he was sidelined due to his communist ties, his work laid the foundation. In 1945, the French Atomic Energy Commission was created and research kicked into high gear. Despite economic struggles, France's leaders saw nuclear weapons as a ticket to independence. Charles de Gaulle, returning to power in 1958, pushed hard for nuclear development, emphasizing that France must not rely on the United States for defense. This force de frappe, or strike force, would ensure France could defend itself on its own terms. After years of research and testing, France was ready. On February 13, 1960, in the Algerian Sahara, the first French atomic bomb, codenamed Gerboise Bleue, was detonated. The explosion was a success, 4 times more powerful than the first United States atomic bomb. France had officially joined the nuclear club. At its first test, France continued refining its nuclear arsenal, developing hydrogen bombs by 1968. Today, it maintains a nuclear triad: submarines, aircraft, and land-based missiles, ensuring it remains a formidable power. France's nuclear journey was driven by a desire for security, and today it holds one of the most advanced nuclear arsenals in the world. On the other side of the world, another country was determined to prove its strength: China. How did China, a nation scarred by war, foreign occupation, and internal strife, transform itself into a nuclear powerhouse? Well, this story is nothing short of remarkable. At first, China received technical aid from the Soviet Union. Chinese scientists trained in Soviet labs, and nuclear reactors were built with Russian expertise. But then, disaster struck. In 1960, as ideological differences deepened, the Soviets abruptly withdrew their support, taking their nuclear experts and classified knowledge with them. China was left stranded, its nuclear ambitions seemingly crushed. But the Chinese leadership refused to accept failure. In secret laboratories deep in the heart of China, teams of brilliant scientists led by Qian Sanqiang worked day and night. Without foreign assistance, they had to innovate, decipher, and rebuild what had been lost. Mao himself declared, "We will have a nuclear bomb, even if we have to eat grass." This was no ordinary project. It was a matter of national survival. The pressure was immense, and the stakes were higher than ever. The world was watching. Could China pull it off? Then, on October 16, 1964, in the remote Lop Nur Desert, the ground trembled, the sky lit up, and a deafening roar echoed across the barren landscape. China had done it. The successful detonation of its first atomic bomb shocked the world. The message was clear: China was no longer a nation to be ignored. But China didn't stop there. Just 3 years later, in 1967, it tested its first hydrogen bomb. A leap in nuclear capability achieved faster than any other nation before. From that point onward, China's nuclear arsenal only grew more sophisticated. Today, China is one of the most formidable nuclear powers, armed with intercontinental ballistic missiles, nuclear submarines, and cutting-edge technology. China's path to nuclear power was one of resilience, secrecy, and sheer determination. But what does this mean for global politics today? There was yet another nation that would rise to challenge the global nuclear order. It's India, a country with a deep history of scientific advancement and a vision for self-reliance. How did India, despite immense political and economic challenges, build its own nuclear bomb? Let's uncover the story. Nuclear journey began in 1948, just a year after gaining independence. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, India laid the groundwork for nuclear energy with the establishment of the Atomic Energy Commission. A visionary scientist, Dr. Homi Bhabha, spearheaded the program, seeing nuclear power as key to India's future, both for energy and defense. India pursued nuclear technology for peaceful purposes, receiving support from Canada and the United States under the Atoms for Peace program. However, the geopolitical landscape shifted in 1964 when China tested its first nuclear bomb. Suddenly, India found itself vulnerable to a nuclear-armed neighbor, and the push for a deterrent became stronger. Turning point came on May 18, 1974. Deep in the Thar Desert, in the Pokhran test range, a silent countdown began. Scientists and military officials watched anxiously. Then, boom! The ground shook as India successfully detonated its first nuclear device, codenamed Smiling Buddha. The mastermind behind the project was Dr. Raja Ramana, along with key contributions from Dr. P.K. Iyengar and Dr. Homi Sethna. The test stunned the world. India declared it a peaceful nuclear explosion, but the message was clear. India had entered the nuclear club. Global sanctions and international pressure, India pressed on. For decades, it maintained a policy of nuclear ambiguity, neither confirming nor denying weapons development. However, tensions with Pakistan and China grew, and by 1998, India made a bold move. Under Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, India conducted a series of nuclear tests, openly declaring itself a nuclear weapons state. Scientists like Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam played a pivotal role in these tests, codenamed Operation Shakti. Today, India maintains a no-first-use policy, but possesses one of the most sophisticated nuclear deterrents in the world, with land-based missiles and nuclear submarines. Its journey to nuclear power was driven by security concerns and national pride, cementing its place among the world's nuclear-armed nations. But India's nuclear tests had immediate consequences. Across the border, Pakistan knew it had to respond. The race for nuclear dominance in South Asia had begun. Pakistan's nuclear journey officially began in the 1970s under Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Bhutto stated, "If India builds the bomb, we will eat grass, even go hungry, but we will get one of our own." This was not just political rhetoric. It was a commitment that would drive Pakistan's scientific community to achieve what seemed impossible at the time. However, there was a major challenge. Unlike India, which had access to nuclear technology through civilian agreements, Pakistan faced strict international restrictions. Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan, a metallurgist who had been working in Europe, he acquired crucial knowledge on uranium enrichment technology while working at the Urenco facility in the Netherlands. In the mid-1970s, he returned to Pakistan, bringing with him valuable blueprints for gas centrifuge technology. Under his leadership, the Khan Research Laboratories were established in Kahuta, a remote facility that became the heart of Pakistan's nuclear. Despite international pressure, economic sanctions, and multiple espionage attempts, Pakistan pressed forward in secrecy. Intelligence agencies around the world, particularly from the United States and Israel, closely monitored Pakistan's progress. Reports even surfaced of potential preemptive strikes on Kahuta, similar to Israel's attack on Iraq's Osirak reactor in 1981. To counter this threat, Pakistan allegedly issued a warning that any attack on its nuclear facilities would be met with severe retaliation. By the late 1980s, it was widely believed that Pakistan had successfully developed nuclear weapons, though the country maintained an official policy of ambiguity. It wasn't until May 1998, when India once again tested nuclear bombs under Operation Shakti, that Pakistan was forced to reveal its hand. On May 28, 1998, in the remote Chagai Hills of Balochistan, Pakistan conducted 5 nuclear tests. The mountains shook, the desert sands turned white from the blast, and the world took notice. Pakistan had become a nuclear power. 3 days later, a 6th test was carried out, further solidifying its position. With these tests, Pakistan became the 7th nuclear-armed nation in the world and the first in the Muslim world. The tests were met with celebrations across the country, and May 28th has since been commemorated as Yom-e-Takbir, or the Day of Greatness. Pakistan's nuclear program remains a topic of global debate. Supporters argue that it provides a necessary deterrence against external threats, while critics highlight concerns about proliferation and regional stability. But one thing is undeniable. Pakistan's nuclear achievement changed the security landscape of South Asia forever. One of the most secretive and controversial nuclear programs was unfolding in North Korea. How did a small, isolated nation defy global pressure to build its own nuclear weapons? Korea's nuclear ambitions trace back to the 1950s when it received early assistance from the Soviet Union for peaceful nuclear research. By the 1960s, it had built a research reactor at Yongbyon, a site that would later become the heart of its nuclear program. In the following decades, Pyongyang expanded its nuclear expertise through training programs, diplomatic partnerships, and covert operations aimed at acquiring sensitive technology. During the 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, North Korea found itself cut off from direct support. However, it adapted by leveraging international scientific exchanges and illicit procurement networks to obtain key materials and technical knowledge. Reports suggest that North Korean scientists gained access to uranium enrichment and weaponization techniques through unofficial channels, including technology transfers from foreign experts and black market dealings. Additionally, North Korea was able to reverse engineer missile and nuclear components by studying outdated Soviet and Chinese designs, refining them over time. Despite international pressure, North Korea conducted its first nuclear test in 2006, signaling to the world that it had successfully developed atomic weapons. In the years that followed, it continued expanding its arsenal, testing more powerful nuclear devices and long-range ballistic missiles, capable of striking targets as far as the United States mainland. Even under heavy sanctions and diplomatic isolation, Pyongyang has maintained its nuclear program, viewing it as essential for regime survival and a powerful bargaining tool in global diplomacy. North Korea's missile capabilities increasing and its nuclear stockpile growing, the world faces an ongoing challenge. How far will Pyongyang push its nuclear ambitions? There is one nuclear power that remains shrouded in secrecy: Israel. Unlike the open tests of other nations, Israel has never officially confirmed or denied possessing nuclear weapons. Yet, its nuclear capabilities are one of the worst-kept secrets in global politics. Israel's nuclear journey began in the late 1950s with the Dimona project, developed with French assistance. By the late 1960s, intelligence reports indicated that Israel had likely developed nuclear weapons. But without a confirmed test, its nuclear arsenal remained in the shadows. Came the Vela incident in 1970, a mysterious double flash detected over the South Atlantic. Was this an Israeli nuclear test? To this day, the answer remains debated, adding to the aura of secrecy surrounding Israel's nuclear program. Israel's official policy is one of nuclear ambiguity, neither confirming nor denying its nuclear capabilities. However, experts believe Israel possesses a sophisticated nuclear arsenal, making it a key player in the strategic balance of the Middle East. Do you think about Israel's nuclear policy? Should it remain secretive or acknowledge its arsenal? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more nuclear history.